ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to Scottish Falcons HQ, sunny Glaslanta. Well, I say sunny, we've not had a day of sun all year. Be ye Clydeside, Stateside, or worldwide, and from Atlanta to the world, we are back. Scottish Falcons show, episode 48 now. And I am glad to be joined. He's a hard man to pin down because he's been doing some hard graft in the real world, so to speak. But he's my co-host with the most, the original Scottish Falcon, and the dynamo of the team without whom this would not function quite so well as it does. How are you, Des? Good to have you back, my brother.
Great to be back. As I said before the show, mate, the Atlanta Falcons, they kind of kick your arse. Every Atlanta Falcons fan will tell you they kick your arse during the season. So at some point, you just need to switch everything off. I mean, it was great with the hires and everything, but it's just that mentally it's exhausted. You get exhausted watching this team. So at some point you just have to switch off and take a break. And it was great to take a break. It gets your juices flowing again, mate. And we're back. Lot to talk about. A lot's happened. It looks. I mean, I always get to the point where you see the draft talk happening, and to be honest, it's a wee bit more subdued for me this year because we don't have the first round draft pick, but there's still interesting rumours going about who we're looking at and everything like that. But it's good to get back into it, mate, and it's good to be back on with you.
100%, and it's good to be back on with you, right back at you, brother. And another one of our brothers, he's not going to be able to stay too long, so we'll get the shout out done nice and early for you. John, good to see you as always, mate. As I say, we're sorry we kept you waiting so long, but you know how this team be. Like, we all need to step back sometimes and have that woosah moment, courtesy of the bad boys. But while some more of the guys get into the building, I do have something that I wanted to, obviously. I know it's not strictly speaking Falcons business, but it does concern the show in a lot of ways. So tonight, for the first time, we would like to say thank you for the last time for all the support that you showed through season 1, and officially roll out the tartan carpet and say welcome to season 2. There's a lot of good things that we've got coming down the pipeline. So yeah, including getting into some new sports.
I'll tell you, I need to get back on the weights, mate, because the pecs and that slide looks. I mean, I used to be big, but it's all disappearing, mate.
It's the wonders of AI, isn't it? You can accentuate some bits and cut down some other bits. don't worry. I was on ChatGPT being like, please be kind to us. But no, while we're talking about some of the obviously the new sports and things that we've got coming up, I did catch a little bit of the rugby today, and that was something that I wanted to say before we get kind of settled firmly back into Falcons business for the evening. Just a wee bit the sporting news from back home. So this comes courtesy of Murrayfield Stadium in the nation's capital. The Six Nations, which is essentially Europe's 6 best rugby teams competing. For the first time ever, Scotland have now put themselves in pole position to win that trophy in a 90-point thriller. And as I say, even by catching the highlights, I was like, what a game, what a performance. I don't know if you managed to catch any of it, Des, but...
Literally, my son messaged me and I think it was 40-15 with like 63 minutes. And I was like, I used to love watching rugby, mate, but with the business, it's just that everything else takes a sideline on this. So, but then he then messaged me saying that was a game over. It was 50-40. And I then messaged him back saying, well, the France put up a fight the last 20 minutes. So
yeah, that's what I said to the missus as well. I was like, you need to remember, like, I know we played for at least the first, I would say 50-55 minutes, we played them off the park. And I was like, I had to say to Moira, like, I forgot for a minute that this is one of the best rugby teams in the world. and then they started to come back, and I went, "Oh, don't do this to me." But that's the quality you play when you're playing some of these teams in the Six Nations. But yeah, it was fantastic to see a Scotland win. And as I say, when we're branching out into some of the stuff like with the World Cup coming up as well, it's great. Des, sorry to jump, sorry to talk over you.
The Americans will understand why we're Atlanta Falcons fans when the World Cup comes around, and we don't get into the second round for literally we've never gotten into the second round as a football nation or a soccer nation in the World Cup ever. Literally played against Peru and some of the worst teams in the world, and we still haven't got through. So it's apt that we've ended up being Atlanta Falcons fans, mate. But I will say, listen, I love the rugby, but there's only one oblong-shaped, strange sport, football, ball-shaped big sport for me, and that's American football, mate. So
no, that's always going to be first and foremost for me too. Like I love me some rugger, but as I say, like as much as I want to see Scotland do well, and I still kind of I do have a soft spot for the New Zealand All Blacks. Like those guys just play at a level that's just above and beyond. So I love to see them. If you know your rugby, they're like your Harlem Globetrotters of rugby. Everybody likes to see that haka as well. So shout out to the All Blacks as well. But yeah, without further ado, we've got enough to get through without again digressing. But yeah, as I say, so a lot to get through. And let's start with some roster talks. So we've got subtitles for the first time tonight, trying a few things out. So this one we're calling Kirko, Hand in Your Chains. So as we say, the Falcons have decided to release quarterback Kirk Cousins. That's going to save us 2.1 million in cap for 2026. Looking back, obviously the beauty of being able to look back and have the full span of things, Des, it was an experiment. Can we call it a fun experiment? I don't know. How do you feel now that we're looking back on it?
I mean, hindsight's get a way kicking you in the arse, mate, to be honest. I mean, I remember watching Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot coming out literally right after they drafted Michael Penix Jr. and explained it all. And at that point, you would see a lot of people on X saying, well, if they're going to sit him for 6 years, he's going to be like 28 by the time he plays quarterback. And you're like, and you're kind of, you think you're hearing a lot of, oh, it's only really a 2-year deal for Kirk Cousins. But when you get hindsight and you look back on it, yeah, it was a completely failed experiment. It seems to be that Terry Fontenot spent $180 million to hide the fact that he was actually going to draft Michael Penix Jr. And I talk about a story a few years ago when I decided I was taking my son to WrestleMania 2015. And I actually went out and bought loads of toys and loads of stuff for him so that when he woke up, there was plenty for him there so that he didn't assume that he was going to get anything else. And that's what Terry Fontenot done. Terry Fontenot went out and splurged $180 million just to hide the fact that he was going to draft a quarterback in that draft. And he's gone now. They sacked him, but it didn't work. Unfortunately, it didn't work, mate. And you can put it all on the Aints. And that was it. Cam Jordan. That tackle. Literally one tackle in history hasn't had much of an impact as that one, mate. And it all went downhill from there. The team obviously thought Michael Penix Jr. weren't in a position that he could come straight on, and we had the 5 worst games of a quarterback in NFL history to watch with Kirk Cousins. I mean, just a failed experiment, mate. And to be honest, when you sat back and you looked at it as it was happening, it looked suspect. But me being me, and being the Atlanta Falcons rah-rah guy, I just kind of said, yeah, let's go for it. It's going to all work out, and it didn't, mate. And we're now at a point where we've got our third head coach in 5 years. So we're on to our third head coach. At some point, it's a bit like the way we needed the defense last year just to be average. At some point, we just need Kevin Stefanski to be all right.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's the guy, but we just need a bit of stability, mate. It's been, we've went from effectively, so in 6 years, we went from Dan Quinn to Raheem Morris to Arthur Smith, back to Raheem Morris to Kevin Stefanski. So at some point, we need to stabilize. We need to effectively get good results the next 3 to 5 years. Let Ian Cunningham get his feet under the table. He's obviously come out and said that he's not happy that we've only got 5 draft picks, and I'm pretty sure he's not happy that one of them's not a first-round pick. We just need a wee bit of stability, mate. So the next year, we just need to effectively show that what the potential of the team, get the quarterback position sorted out. Again, it's all over the place. What we're going to do with that. So the buzzword you're going to hear from me this year is going to be stability, mate. We just need a bit of stability.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I feel like that's something that hopefully these, not just the Stefanski hire, I wish him all successes, but I feel like we've done enough to kind of shore up around him. And shout out to Ricky. Good to see you back in the building as always, my boy. And he makes a good point. It was definitely not fun. An experience of lies, sabotage, and letdowns. Yeah. At one point, we did find ourselves questioning. I mean, can't remember if you were on that episode. You probably were, because you're one of the OGs, as we know. But we mentioned something about, like, I think we did ask the question at one point, Des, like, is this out and out sabotage at this point, or is he just so inadequate? But yeah, you do find yourself asking that. I mean, yeah, you had games where we're like, oh wait, hold on a minute, is this the turning point? But no, I've seen a lot of reports about the worst free contracts in history. And you've got to go some to break that $100 million that Washington gave to Albert Hainsworth. But you've started seeing Kirk Cousins getting ranked above that, and it's like, with all being considered, it may just do that, realistically speaking. So, like, we don't need any more excuse to be a laughingstock in this league. But you know what? Bring it on. We'll take all the heat you can give us. At least he's out the door now.
And again, when you look back in it, and you take off the red and black tinted glasses, mate, it didn't make sense. We signed a veteran quarterback to $180 million contract that was coming off an Achilles injury. We then went out and picked up and drafted at position 8 a rookie quarterback that was not for the last 2 years when we drafted him, but had a history of Achilles injuries. And you're then putting 2 and 2 together, and it's no making 4. It's making 42, mate. And it didn't age well. That's all I'm going to say. And whatever you say about Arthur Blank is quite loyal, and I'm pretty sure when the discussions happened with Matt Ryan coming in as president of football, he probably asked a lot of questions, mate. And at that point, I think Arthur Blank's eyes were opened, and there was only one way to go. We had obviously said there was so many red flags on the coaching. There's so many red, and not the first. Not just last year, the year before, you know what I mean? And I mean, Jimmy Lake effectively putting up with a Jimmy Lake defense right to the end of the season when we could see after 2 or 3 games it was incompetent, it was bad. As we've said before, Atlanta Falcons could be such a good team if they just stopped doing the daft, wee, idiotic, stupid things. And to be honest, I'm excited for who we brought in as the general manager. I think when you look at his track record, it looks decent. Whereas if you look at Terry Fontenot came from the New Orleans Saints. Caps aren't real. And to be honest, when you actually just speak about Terry Fontenot just now, Terry Fontenot was a really, really, really conservative general manager. He was really, really. There was times where you could see that the team just needed 1 or 2 big signings, and apart from the Jesse Bates, and obviously we went down the Justin Simmons route and all that kind of stuff, it always seems to be that he was just doing enough, and then he would deal with it next year, and next year was going to be the big year, and he just never ever got to a point where he had settled on how he wanted to do things, mate. And again, I supported him. I would still support him if he was here. I love my team, but when you look back on hindsight, there was a lot of things wrong, mate.
And I feel like that's something we can definitely look at doing, because all credit to Des on this one. I was sent a document which basically contains all the ways that we can shore up and get a little bit more cap room, to the point where we could be playing with as much as $50 to $70 million. So what we can do is we can go on and we can break that down the next time Des and I get together. And on that note, shout out to our sister from another mister, the First Lady of ATL Falcons Nation herself, Miss Maggie T. It's good to be back. As we say, it's been too long, and we are going to do the one a week, just to make sure that we do get the chance to speak, because we're going to probably bend your ear for the next good few hours, because Des and I have now been together for we were going for a good 20 minutes before the show started, and we almost forgot to hit record because we got sidetracked and chatting. So at least we can say you are in for a good one tonight. Shout out to Terry down in the chat as well, Scottish Falcons. Salute to you too, my boy. And then we've got Ricky as well. If I ever see Kirk in person, I may go to jail for assault for throwing 18 empty beer cans at him. Just make sure your throwing arm's in a better state than his. That's all I'll say. As long as you can get...
don't rupture an Achilles south side, Ricky, when you're doing that, mate. But
that's it. Just keep a 50%. Shoot for, if you're throwing as many as 18 beer cans, as long as you can keep up a 50%, we'll take that. that's
what I would say is make sure they're empty, mate. Make sure they're empty. You know what I mean? That would be a waste of beer if you actually threw them full. You know what I mean? It would, mate. What I would say is that Kirk Cousins is a person. I think he's a really amazing guy. I mean, he really is genuine. He's a family man. He believes he's a godly faith man. You know what I mean? He is genuinely an amazingly nice person, mate. But effectively, sport is sport, mate, and sport's all about the best and not the nicest. And when you sit and look at it was a complete, it was a failure, mate. And and
as we often see in the media, it's kind of, they say NFL stands for not for long, but I would say it's more like nobody wants to hear me sing, so I'm not going to do it in tune. But everybody says it's more of a kind of, what have you done for me lately? So you heard that tune in your head. I didn't have to, but yeah, I completely see what you guys are saying as well. So it's kind of, it's funny looking back in hindsight and all the rest of it. But I'm just glad we're in a position where we can get rid of him and still make at least a couple of million back. And there you go, a former pitcher. So you should have no problem. And if you want to talk baseball, that man on your left's your guy. I'm still kind of doing my homework on some things, so I will get back to you. And then shout out to Brother E from the pandemic as well. Story on, you go, Des.
Well, what I'm going to say to Southside Ricky is I'm kind of in a bit of a lull. I'm in a void just now because I normally so at the start of March I pay for MLB, the MLB app, and that allows me to watch all the Atlanta Falcons game, all the Atlanta Braves games. But the Braves have then come out and said that they're now going to do this Braves Vision, which means that they're going to bring out an app, and it means that you can go on and watch the team. But they've not done that yet, so I've not got access. I'm not paying 150 quid, 100, like probably nearly $200 to pay for the MLB app when there's a chance I don't see any Atlanta Braves. I'm not one to watch the Mets. I'm not one to watch the Dodgers. You know what I mean? I want to watch the Braves, so I'm in a void at the moment where I can't really see anything. I'm watching the highlights of the club, the international tournament just now, but you need to be on top of it. You need to be watching games all the time, mate, to really remember who these guys are. And it's the same as football, you know what I mean? You get to the training and you think, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Who's this guy? God, where did he come from? Where did he come from? It's the same. It's the same with baseball. And with baseball, you've got AAA, AA, A. You've got all these feeder clubs. You know what I mean? So, you need to stay on top of it. So I'm in a lull at the moment. I can't watch my Braves. I can only watch the highlights. So, if anybody's watching for Atlanta, can we please get the Braves Vision sorted so that I can watch my baseball team?
There you go. And I've got a similar experience with basketball. I was having it out with OG Sam, and he said something about, so who do you rep? And I'm like, see, to be honest, Houston. And he goes, why Houston? And I went, because the last time I watched it, Yao Ming hadn't yet retired. That's how long it's been, because I've been so Falcon-centric. But, I mean, you take a minute off and you come back, and as you say, you start going like, wait, who are these guys? Wait, like, I would have to do a full, like, go through the league again to really kind of figure out where I'm at before I get back into basketball. But that's something that obviously we're going to hopefully do a little bit of this season, assuming we get the time, because as we often jokingly complain, there's not enough hours in the day for it all. Got some comments to get through as well. We can't really blame Kirk. He just finessed the system. As a player, getting paid is the agenda. If you win some games in the process, it's a bonus. Yeah. As we've said a few times before, Manuel, when it comes to Kirk Cousins, even if he doesn't make the Hall of Fame, I think his agent should.
His agent, well, mate, I mean, he's literally they're going to open up a new Hall of Fame for him, the Agents Hall of Fame, mate. He's, but as I say, mate, I mean, if you look at what's gonna, I know Craig Air Force is put on as well about like, I wish Kyler Murray, but I doubt it. Yeah, it looks as if Kyler Murray's going to go to the Ravens. Is it Baltimore Ravens? I said, and I've put out a few tweets, that there's I would say a 90% chance it's going to be Joe Flacco. I mean, not only did Matt Ryan phone him before he appointed Kevin Stefanski to ask Joe Flacco what he thought of Kevin Stefanski, then you have Joe Flacco effectively calling out what you call him, the guy, Pat McAfee, who effectively said, I mean, we were surprised that he gets signed so quickly, and Joe Flacco's like, really? I mean, he's a great head coach. So for me, the common sense approach would be Joe Flacco for me. Because effectively, the way you look at it is he's going to be a bridging QB. And there's no point bringing in, like, a Justin Fields or a Kyler Murray. I know Kyler Murray's could be like vet minimum on that, but I think bringing in somebody like that is just going to upset the place. They've come out in so many terms and said that Michael Penix Jr. is their guy. They're not 100% behind them, but they've said what they've seen, he's their guy. So if you then go out there and bring in like a Geno Smith or a Kyler Murray, then that's telling you that you maybe don't have as much faith in Michael Penix Jr. as you're saying.
Yeah. And even with that being said, from what I've read, it looks like Geno Smith's the number one heir apparent in New York over on the Jets. I mean, there's a couple of people in that mix, but he's definitely one of the front runners for sure. I mean, we can jump about a little bit if that's what you want to get into.
No, listen, mate. What I would say is, I mean, I know we've had our heartache, but I mean, if you're the New York Jets, I mean, what are you thinking? You know what I mean? You had Geno Smith, then he wasn't for you. You get rid of him. You then got Sam Darnold. He wasn't for you. You get rid of him. Geno Smith goes to Seattle last year and effectively takes over the place and does really, really well. And then Sam Darnold goes to Seattle and wins the Super Bowl. So you can only just assume what the Jets fans must feel. I mean, it's like our pain on steroids, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's one of those teams where I always make the reference where it's where talent comes to die. It's like ridiculous in New York. You think I'm blessed that we don't have it that bad. Like, that's what I say to my mum. She's like, see, every time we lose a big game, she goes, see, you should have just been a cowboy. And I'm like, no, I'm miserable enough. Don't inflict that on me, Christ. And do you know what? I love this. I'm looking down and I'm seeing so many comments and so many new people in the chat tonight. Aries Falcon 77, shout out. You want a running QB coming off a knee injury? That don't make sense. No, we just want someone who can be a bridge. We want someone who, even if he's not going to be a bridge and he wants to compete, I'm all for that. I just want to make sure that when Michael Penix Jr. comes back, he's 100% ready to get back and mix it up, you know.
I think he's commenting on one of the other comments about Kyler Murray, wanting Kyler Murray. You know what I mean? Okay. I don't listen. Kyler Murray's a good QB, but it just makes no sense. Let him move on to another. As I say, it looks as if he's going to go to the Baltimore Ravens. So at the end of the day, what I would say is that what Sam Darnold has done for average quarterbacks is, I mean, literally, there's going to be quarterbacks that are literally putting tens of millions of pounds in their dollars in their bank accounts every year simply down a Sam Darnold, because effectively you see on X, is Kyler Murray going to be the new rejuvenated QB that takes it, that does it all again? Because they're looking at Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold was literally getting wrote off. I mean, I remember watching, I think, I can't remember, he went to San Francisco 49ers, I think, didn't he, for a wee while?
Yeah.
And then effectively ended up going somewhere else as a backup. And I thought at that point, listen, I remember looking at it and saying, listen, you've made your money, Sam. You're never going to make it. Just move, just literally retire and move on. And then in here, he's winning the Super Bowl. So this is the new thing that you're going to hear this year. Who's going to be the new Sam Darnold? Who's going to be the guy that's going to pick it back up? Geno Smith, Joe Flacco. I mean, Joe Flacco's career is he's just a bridge quarterback. But what you did see in the last couple of seasons, he still got it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So,
well, that's the thing as well. When you talk about guys like Darnold, it's like, I'm completely shocked that he's the first QB from that class to win a ring. And B, what really blows me away is it's like, I kind of seen it coming, but not quite. In a way, yeah, he revitalised his career with that stint in Minnesota. He looked real good before Seattle got him. But what really kind of I had him bottomed out in a way. I thought he was going to be a Gardner Minshew. I thought he was going to be a high level backup. But yeah, like kudos to the guy. It goes to show you, like, it's 2000 Baltimore all over again. There are teams that win the Super Bowl that prove that you don't have to have an elite level of quarterback play. If your rest of your team's in place, it just has to be good enough. And Sam Darnold was good enough because that defense more than made up for obviously any inadequacies that he may have or mistakes that he may have made. And as I say, it's
we
just
could say. I mean, who's saying that Eli Manning was effectively a I mean, it was a okay a quarterback, but he wasn't an exception. He wasn't Peyton Manning, you know what I mean? So,
no.
and he won 2 quarterbacks. He won 2 Super Bowls. So, I mean, Nick Foles. I mean, we're not saying he was a world beater either. So,
No, not by any means.
Again, Craig Air Force is having a go, saying that we think Penix is going to take us to the Super Bowl. We're not saying that.
Well, that was his words, not ours. I mean, he said it on the Gruden interview. I mean, but I'm glad that he's confident. Like,
yeah, but, I mean, what do you want? I mean, what I'm going to say is I'm going to call this out. What do you want these guys to say? You know what I mean? I mean, Kirk Cousins is a nice guy, but Kirk Cousins was never forthright about how good he was. You know what I mean? He's a nice guy. He knew he knew he wasn't a top tier quarterback, and what he's done with his career has been phenomenal. But I want my quarterback to come out and say that he thinks he's the best. I want that. I want my quarterback to be confident because he's walking into a changing room with a lot of guys that are looking at him and saying, "What are we going to do?" You know what I mean? Yeah. So you need to have that confidence. Whether it takes us to a Super Bowl, who knows? We just don't know. Literally, he might play 4 games this season and have an injury, and that's him. He's out the game forever. He might play for the next 10 years. That's how I said that at the start of the show. My buzzword this year is going to be stability. We just need a bit of stability at quarterback position. We need to know who we have going forward. Is Michael Penix a guy? If he is a guy, then we can effectively try and put aside the injury doubts. And is Ian Cunningham the guy? Again, that's to be seen. Is Matt Ryan the guy? We know Matt Ryan's the guy when he was a quarterback, but is he the guy as the president of football? And Kevin Stefanski, is he the guy that's going to bring us success? So at some point, we just need stability. That's all we need. You know what I mean?
And you do ask these questions coming from the top down, but I mean, as it pertains to Mike Penix and the quarterback situation, I feel like that's a good kind of point to not completely move to a new topic, but one that's very, very tied, and that's to an extent a QB can only be as effective as his receivers to a certain extent. So with that being said, more roster news going forward from our Falcons is that Darnell Mooney has also been released, and that's going to save us $7.42 million in cap. With that being said, and you're talking about receivers, we also recently released Kadaro Hodge. That would be another 2.6 million roughly. So this is getting into the whole starting to talk about restructures and cuts and things like that. And obviously on top of that, you've also got Kyle Pitts being tagged. Now, is that going to be a tag to trade situation? We don't know, because as we know, look at David Njoku. We know that Coach Stefanski knows how to handle a high-level tight end. So I'll let you kind of tackle that a little bit, Des. But yeah, for me, I think it's only a good sign considering you've also got Callahan in the mix. And I feel like, as I say, he's getting better as a blocker as Pitts, but that's going to help him even more with such an experienced O-line coach kind of shoring up that for him as well. I just worry that who's going to be feeding him the ball. that's the big thing for me. How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, the issue we've got this year is that we really don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we don't know Ian Cunningham. We don't have any history with Ian Cunningham. We don't know what his thoughts are. I mean, he's come out and said that obviously it's all about starting in the trenches, and effectively that makes sense. So we've already spoke about how effectively the defense for Seattle Seahawks was the make or break for them. So it's not always about you need wideouts, you need good wideouts, but for me, the most important thing that Ian Cunningham said, and this is why we're probably talking about Kyle Pitts, whether we're tagging him and trading him, is the fact that he was very vocal in the fact that he wasn't happy that we only had 5 draft picks. In fact, if you look back the last couple of seasons, I think the most we had was 6, maybe 7. Terry Fontenot was quite used to giving away 7th round, 6th rounds, 5th round picks to get Justin Simmons and people like that. So
I completely agree.
Whereas Ian Cunningham saying that effectively what he's saying is you're going to have misses in the draft, but the more choices you have, the more hits you're going to have, which is effectively him saying sometimes it's just a numbers game. The more shots you have, the more chance you have a hitting the target.
And I mean, that's something that I've tried to replicate when I fantasy draft. I feel like Ian Cunningham wants to put himself in a position where he can trade back, maybe shore up a little bit on draft capital, maybe in both instances for me, it's made 5 picks into 7. It's not a big step, but those 2 guys could come in handy. And as Ricky says, I'm not 100% convinced on Casey Washington either. So as long as we extend Drake London, although when I was messing around today, going over some stuff to kind of give you guys some stuff to think about, I did come up with a couple of options. I've got 2 via the draft and 2 via free agency that might come in handy. One that's going to be a little bit costly, but I feel like he's been underappreciated in Green Bay would be Romeo Doubs. He's got great inside-outside speed. He's going to function mainly as a kind of slot option, but he's a great slot option to have. Or you've also got, staying in the NFC North, I like Jalen Naylor. So shout out to whoever it was that pointed me on to him. Great inside-outside speed again if you're looking at that kind of 2-3 type player. And that's my kind of picks if you're talking free agent receivers. If you're talking about the draft, then obviously shout out to the guys from the Unholy Alliance. Elijah Surratt looks real nice, kid out at Indiana. And then if you want to kind of combine the whole quarterback/receiver narratives, I've been talking about Trey Lance for a minute, but his young brother Bryce is in this year's draft class as well. So if you want to talk about continuity, if you want to bring back the message of brotherhood, we could do that literally as well. So just a couple of things to kind of throw into the mix, get you thinking. But I mean, how do you feel as to any of them? Does any of them kind of sound appealing?
Yeah, Dobbs, I would. Again, I know it's going to be costly, but the issue you've got is that effectively, if you go in with Drake London and effectively average wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, then it's just going to open up the fact that effectively they're going to shut down Drake London, and that's going to be our offense gone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
As I say, the issue we've got is that we just don't know. We don't know Ian Cunningham. We don't. I mean, as I say, there's I mean, every time I go into X and I see some of the people that have been released, I just think to myself, at some point, some general manager is going to look at all these players that are getting released and think to yourself, I can make a Super Bowl winning team out of some of these guys. And again, obviously, I think have we hit legal tampering yet, or is that still to come?
I think that's still to come. to be
I
honest
think
with
that
you, mate.
starts maybe Monday, Tuesday. So again,
Yeah.
You don't know. We don't know Ian Cunningham. We don't know what he wants to do. Is he the only thing that he said and come out and said is that he wants to build from the trenches? So effectively, is he trying to get more cap space so that he can bring in some decent O line? You know what I mean? Some decent D line. What is he doing that for? You know what I mean? So
Yeah, well, I do have a couple of options as we get into free agency a little bit later. One that I think is massively underappreciated and I feel like isn't on a lot of people's radar when you're talking about offensive line, but it's something we can get into a little bit later on. And shout out to another one of the OGs, Tony Hall. Good to see you back in the chat. I'm amazed and thrilled to see all these comments. A lot of great takes. As I say, we don't have to agree. I'm just thrilled to see so many of you just passionate and throwing in your takes. And I like again what Ricky's got to say here. He's thinking we're going to pick up 2 or 3 wide receivers. His top targets are Rashid Shaheed and Chris Brazil. I really like Chris Brazil too. I mean, from everything I've seen of him, that's the kid from Tennessee. He's a freak athlete, so tall, so long, and just ridiculous speed. So if you want to talk about like a real danger man to place opposite Drake, if we can get him, I feel like again by 48 he's probably going to be off. But is he trading up? Is he trading down? That's something we can't quite say yet because we don't know how this draft's going to quite go in terms of what we're going to try to do to kind of move around a little bit, so to speak. But those are 2 sound targets for sure.
And again, they're saying that the wide receivers in the draft is quite deep as well. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
you're looking at. I mean, I think I'd spoke before. You're looking at Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M. He's down as a potential second round draft pick. So that there's again, it's everything is unknown. We always knew that Terry Fontenot used to try and Phillies needs in free agency, and then effectively hit best player available in the draft. Now, Ian Cunningham has come out and said that he goes best player available as well. But the difference between Ian Cunningham and Terry Fontenot the last few years is Terry Fontenot's job was on the line, I think, the last couple of years. So effectively, he was trying to draft for effectively bring players in for the team just now. So he was looking past maybe best player potentially available, as in maybe a year or two. He was trying to bring in the ones that were ready now, whereas Ian Cunningham is not going to have that pressure. He can bring in players that he thinks maybe they're not ready just now. I believe in the coaching staff. We'll bring them in. We'll let them sit for a wee while. We'll let them learn the offense or the defense and effectively start taking it from there. So, but he has come out and said that he's a draft guy. It's all about building from the trenches and effectively, what is it he said? Draft,
develop, retain.
Yeah. So effectively, that's where we're looking. I think the biggest question we've got is, will it when we hit the second round, will he draft back? So as I say, there's so many unknowns. We just don't know.
I feel like, with all that being said, Des, I feel like this was the ideal point in the season to get the Premier out of the way. I feel like the people in the chat are loving it, and I'm loving it too, because as I say, there's so many questions and not enough answers. It's good to kind of to coin an old expression, and pardon my French, to piss into the wind a little bit and really just kind of mess with some ideas and see what can happen. But I do want to take a wee second while I've got it, because we had a great chat on Candid Room last week. So shout out to 3 Dirty down in the chat, and also to Debo, the real Mitchell Debo on Facebook, and also obviously the First Lady herself, Maggie, because we got on not long after the Rondale Moore situation, and really broke it down about men's mental health and how important it is. not just to obviously pro athletes who are going through all this pressure, but to everyone. So obviously, it should go without saying, we do try to state it as much as we possibly can. But if any of you out there are struggling, we would rather read a message for help than read your obituary. So if you need to talk, feel free to hit up your boys anytime. And I feel like I speak for Des when I say that too.
Absolutely, mate. We had this. I'm trying to remember who the other player was. A few months ago,
That was Brashon Neeland over in Dallas.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
The one thing I would say is that guys, we're just brought up with if we fall down, it's a case of get up, you'll be fine. I mean, I literally call myself a loner. I mean, I literally I can go into my own shell, and sometimes I'm really, really happy in that wee shell and my own wee bubble. And a lot of guys are like that. It's literally it's work, home, bed, repeat, work, home, bed, repeat, and we forget about our own mental well-being. We forget about our own health. We effectively, most guys and anybody that's watching it, I guarantee you, if they've got a wife and they've got 2 kids and themselves, they're effectively probably the 7th choice on because they'll probably include their parents and everything. Guys, we tend to effectively put ourselves at the back and forget that we have to take care of ourselves, because at some point we're taking care of everybody. So, or we're taking care of a lot of people. You know what I mean? So, from my point of view, the one thing I love about being in around my friends is that I can be quite open. And it might be a case that you get a sarcastic remark about don't be an idiot or something like that, and effectively just a bit of banter. And you, like, I know for a fact that I've got a lot of friends that if I phone them at 4 o'clock in the morning and say I need you, they would be here. And I've got a lot of friends that know that if they phone me at 4 o'clock in the morning and they needed me, I'd be there. So, but there is a lot of people out there that just don't see that and they don't have that. And at that point, that's where you message me, you message Will, message anybody that you've had a conversation with on X. I guarantee you, if there's somebody out there and they've went through mental health like what I've done, what you've done, and mental health issues, we've all been there. I guarantee you there's not a man that's watching this just now, and there's not a person that's watching this just now that hasn't woke up one morning and thought to themselves, this is too much. I can't deal with this today. And they still get themselves out of bed and they get on with it and they move on and they move forward. And we've all been there. The difference is, me as a person, I don't talk about it. I don't share that with people. I'll have 1 or 2 people that I'll share that with. But it doesn't mean, when you see, what I would say is, when you see the world getting on with the world and the life moving on, it doesn't mean that these people ain't having bad days. We all have bad days.
Yeah.
And if you have a bad day, it doesn't mean that you're the only person in the world that's having a bad day. We're all having bad days. The only difference is some of the people out there that are having bad days talk to somebody about it, whereas other people don't. And the ones that don't talk about it end up like Rondale Moore. The only way they see is the way out is to do what happened, and it's tragic. But I guarantee you, everybody out there is struggled at some point. And what I would say is, don't be scared to ask for help. We're all here for anybody that's in the chat, for anybody that's on X, anybody. I guarantee you, if I get a message from somebody saying I'm struggling with things, literally I would be on it straight away. I would be messaging, like, speak to somebody. If you get anybody close, is there anybody you can confide in? You know what I mean? If you don't, then you've got the Samaritans. You've got somebody that you've got a phone. You know what I mean? The what I would say is that the best thing about life sometimes is that you've got an instrument there. You've got a lifesaver there. Sometimes a phone call to somebody that has never met you in your life, just to say, this is what I feel like. Sometimes getting that out is enough. It's literally you just feel the release coming from you. Just be telling somebody you've never met, this is what I feel like, and for them to tell you that everybody feels like that. It's not unusual. It's just that you only see it from your perspective. You know what I mean?
So
But
as Des says, and as I say earlier, like the F and the FNI doesn't just stand for Falcons. It may as well stand for family, because
yeah,
that's what we try to put across. We try to create a space where y'all feel safe to have your takes and have your little I call them like family tiffs or sparring sessions, whatever you will. But it's all in good fun. Like if shit hits the fan, then and you need someone, then as I say, anytime, day or night, is what we're here for. We're not just here to entertain or to inform. If we can be there for you in a deeper sense, then we'd love to be if you need us to be. And shout out to Xavier, another one of the OGs. Quite a few OGs sticking in tonight, so I'm glad to see all that. And a few new names as well. So I wanted to shout this one out. Just waiting for a vacation in late April. It'll be, where are you off to, Tony? First off, I hope it's somewhere nice and sunny. And you can tune in, get a cold one, and enjoy the draft. Hopefully, it's we're in a better position afterwards. Because as I say, that's as much as it's fun to kind of play this guessing game, it's kind of terrifying at the same time. It's a tense time in the season, Des. But we're not even just talking about players, because I mean, well, I do have one more thing about players, because I thought you would like this one. And this is the final part of roster talk before we get into staff. So I've called this part of the show "Not Today, Satan," and you'll see why. So this is a little sort of thing I seen on X. So it concerns Falcons edge Arnold Ebiketie. It was recently rumoured that he was going to be heading over to Carolina to play for the Panthers, and it was put to Dr. Ebiketie, and he responded with one word, to quote, cap. So I say you sign that guy tomorrow and you give him a $500,000 pay bump while you're at it. Just for saying that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely, mate. Again, I don't think he's been up. I think he's done okay for us, mate. We've had this discussion before. At what point is it the coaching staff, and at what point is it the player? You know what I mean? So, I think, as I said earlier on, we're effectively, it's in the last 6 years we're on to our fifth, if you count Raheem Morris twice, fifth head coach, and that is not good for any player. They're having to go into new schemes. They're having to learn new ways of the coaching staff. Effectively, the dysfunctionality of just changing coach is sometimes just really hard for a player. Yeah. You see that no better than D. Alford when he was last year in Jimmy Lake's defense was horrendous, and this year he done really, really well with Jeff Ulbricht's defense. So sometimes it's a scheme, sometimes it's a coaches, and I think with all the dysfunctional we've had, I think Ebiketie's done not bad, mate. So yeah. It wouldn't shock me if they gave him a new contract. But again, the one thing we are new effectively general manager is there's no loyalty. There's absolutely no loyalty. He didn't draft you, and if it's going to change and he's going to move on from you, he's going to do it. So. As we said before in one of the shows before we had the break, we're effectively in a void at the moment as Atlanta Falcons fans, mate, because we really don't know what we're getting. We don't know what Ian Cunningham's going to do. We don't know what he wants to do. As I said, he said a few tidbits.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what Kevin Stefanski's going to be like as a head coach. You know what I mean? We don't know. We just don't know, mate. That's the beauty. We're at that point where we're literally we're coming down the stairs at Christmas Day and we're seeing all the presents. And at the moment, that wee box is the best present you're ever going to have, or it could be the worst present you're ever going to have. You just don't know. But you're in that point where you're anxious and you're excited at the same time, and that's where we are. We're literally at the point where we've seen the present. It's a big looking present. It looks big, but we just don't know what it is. It could literally be a cushion, or it could be a PlayStation. We just don't know.
That's it, or anywhere in between. So it's kind of, as you say, it's what makes this the best and worst point of the season at the same time. But it's what makes these conversations so fun, and it's why I kind of last year I thought it was the best time to get up and running with it, because it fell at a time where it was all just hope and speculation, and I love all that. And that sounds amazing, Tony. Panama City Beach, Florida for the Smooth Jazz Festival. That sounds like my jam. It's a shame I won't be joining you, but have an amazing time. Have an extra one for your boys, won't you?
Absolutely, mate. Find a good bottle of scotch somewhere and have one on us, mate.
Hell yeah. And Ricky, I'm not going to put that one up in case obviously you feel conscious about that one, but if you're up and you're not sleeping and you feel like shit, like, even if I'm just sitting playing the PlayStation, hit me up on the socials and I'll talk shit with you. Like, it's better than just sitting being bored or trying to sleep and you can't. So just know that I'm there if you need me, mate. That's all I would say. This is just a phenomenal uptake from the chat as well tonight. So I'm trying to concentrate on 6 different things at once. I apologise. But
I think they're glad to see us back, mate. So, and again, like, we come on, and I mean, this is our 48th show, and every time we start a show, we think, is anybody going to watch? You know what I mean? So, and when you do, as Ricky said, we're all anxious, mate. We all get to a point where we're unsure what's going to happen, and like that with the wee message you put up, mate. I mean, I think you're a night owl, mate, ain't you? I'm more a I need to get up and get to work in the morning kind of thing. I think you
yeah. Sadly, I think I inherited this from my old man, but I'll be awake for 3 days and then sleep for 2. So
sometimes I wake up in the morning and see messages for you, and it's like 6:05 in the morning, and I'm like, what a dude. I mean, just at some point you need to get to bed, you know what I mean? So,
like, sometimes like I make jokes about it, but it's like I call them sister and brother, but I feel sometimes like you and Maggie are more like my parents, because it gets to a point where the two of you are like, get to your bed.
Aye, absolutely, aye.
But
I'm getting up to go to work, mate. Get to bed, you know.
Aye. It's like, I think your shift's done, and you go. Oh dear. But no, it's good, as we say, it's good to see so many on the first show back, and there will be a lot coming up. As I say, we're probably going to keep to 1 show a week just now. Obviously, while Des is grinding in the background as well. I've got a few things I want to do for the show just to make sure that we're giving the best to you guys as well. But yeah, now that we've kind of spoke about roster, let's talk a little bit about staffing and some of the changes there. So the first big bit of news, and it's as Maggie said on the group chat, it's a little bit of daddy's home, because it's a homecoming of sorts. So after his previous 16-year tenure with Atlanta, he spent the last 5 years in Carolina, but it has been announced that Kevin Wilson will be returning to the Falcons. He will be reinstated as our VP of Player Affairs, the role that he did previously fulfill there. So obviously, going back as far as we do, we're not familiar. We're familiar with his work, so it's great to have him back, isn't it?
Absolutely, mate. And again, what I would say about this staff, mate, when you actually look at it all, we've effectively got guys that at some point in their career were up for head coach jobs, mate. Bill Callahan, you know what I mean? You've got obviously a lot of OCs and DCs, historic OCs and DCs there as well. It's a strong, what I would say is that it's a good sign for Kevin Stefanski that he can bring in these caliber of coaches with the knowledge that effectively they're going to be under him as a coordinator or even below that, you know what I mean? So it looks the one thing I would say about Raheem Morris is Raheem Morris was all over the place when he was bringing in his staff. You know what I mean? Jimmy Lake, I mean, he came from Washington. And not Washington, the NFL team, the Washington, the college team, where he had been fired for some issues. So effectively, and the issues with Raheem is that he picked the wrong staff. When you look at Kevin Stefanski, if he's picked the wrong staff, when you look at it from the appointment, you're thinking, brilliant, that's a great. Bill Callahan considered the best O-line coach in the NFL, or one of the best. You know what I mean? You look at who's the guy they brought in as the linebacker coach, and he used to be one of the defensive coordinator. Again, there's been that many choices, mate. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. We've effectively got coaching staff that are like QB coach, the QB coach was the Jets offensive coordinator last year. You know what I mean? So again, when you look at that, it's a strong staff, mate.
It really is, and that's what I was going to do with one of the sections as well. I had this lined up just while we were talking about staff, and this was the other part of the kind of I had lined up to cover as part of the staff chat. So in terms of how we're looking, I've had another look at the Falcons tracker. I know you've had an eye on it as well, Des, and from what I can see, obviously, you know your big names, Stefanski, Reese, and so on, but obviously we mentioned Callahan, but that's going to be like enormously beneficial to this offensive line. Just making sure we've got a scheme that fits. But I'm going to single out someone who I think's a bit of an unsung hero as well, and that would be Patrick Toney. Now, this guy, he last season just gone, he was the defensive coordinator for the Ole Miss Rebels. But previous to that, he, through 2023 through 2025, was the defensive backs coach at the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals in the season just there were 9th in the entire league in yards per game defensively. So that's going to be another one who's going to be good to throw into the mix when you're talking about that Ulbrich defense. I feel like that secondary is going to be quite good under him because he managed to bring up Arizona, who, with all credit to the Cardinals, they don't have a secondary up to the quality of ours. So pairing that together could lead to something quite dangerous, I feel. So that's why I'm going to shout him out too.
And again, as I mentioned earlier on, stability. The one thing we have got is in the defense is stability, mate. And I think some of the coaches that have been brought on are just adding to that stability. I think we need to be honest with ourselves and say that effectively all the issues or all the unknowns are in the offense at the moment. You know what I mean? What's going to happen with as Ian Cunningham says, building in the trenches. I said before in the show before the break that Bill Callahan wasn't brought in to develop the O-line that we've got just now. You know what I mean? How are you developing Chris Lindstrom? How are you developing? I mean, these are veteran players. He was not brought in to develop these veteran players, mate. He's been brought in to develop the players that are brought in the draft, like the Jack Nelsons, to see how he can develop. So effectively, Bill Callahan's is brought in for the future, not for now.
Although with that being said, I think it's going to massively benefit if we do sign one of the guys that I've got my eye on, because I feel like he's right on the cusp of being something great, and he's young enough to where he can still take advantage of a Callahan's coaching. So with that being said, obviously, let's kind of just fly into it. I mean, I'm having a great time tonight, can you tell? We'll go back and kind of cover a little bit of QB prognosis just before we get into the kind of around the NFL section. But yeah, when you're talking about how intriguing and exciting this kind of free agency process is going to be, I have 6 names for you. I've tried to stay, or the way it's went, obviously, because I gave you a couple of examples talking about receiver earlier on. This is mainly defensive guys with, so we've got 4 on the defensive side, 2 on the offense. But just some options again for where we go from here. So I've got a 7.5 sack from last season guy in Odafe Owe. I don't think he's going to come at too high a premium either, former Baltimore Raven coming from the Chargers. We've also got a former captain departing Green Bay in Quay Walker. Now, he's not the best guy at kind of snapping back to cover, but he's much improved against the run, and he will lay the boom on you. But with that being said, if you're talking about linebackers, my favourite choice for us, as I've said on a couple of shows before, would be Tremaine Edmonds out of Chicago. And then one more that I would throw in talking about DB. Now, this is a name I've mentioned on the show a few times before. This is Jalen Watson. He's 6'2", 208, currently plays at Kansas City. But he's a long boundary defender who also plays with some physicality beyond his frame as well. So you pair him opposite AJ, obviously knowing what we've got in the middle at safety as well, could be something special. And then if you want to talk about offense now, I'm not convinced what we're doing with Tyler Algier just yet. So I wanted to throw someone in the mix from the running back position. And the one that's kind of I like would be Kenneth Gainwell out of Pittsburgh from the Steelers, because he brings a lot of what Bijan brings. He's dynamic. He has good sideline to sideline. He's quite good in the receiving game as well. So I feel like it would be a smoother transition from one to the other, from Robinson down to Gainwell. So now we get into the offensive line pick, and you may hate this one, but I'd be interested to see Dylan Parham. Now, he's a guard for the Las Vegas Raiders, and what I like about him is he's only 27. He's 6'4", 315. He can play either guard slot, and he's also had reps at right tackle. Now, you put someone who's that versatile with a Callahan, and you add into the fact that he's also got a 92.5% pass win rate. I feel like the Falcons could really use someone like that, especially if it's a 1-year deal and you want to look at picking up another centre or something like that through the draft. I feel like in terms of depth, guys, you couldn't do much better. I don't know how much you've really delved because of how busy you've been, Des, but have you got any more for this free agency list that's standing out to you?
I've not really. As I said at the start of the show, sometimes with this Atlanta Falcons, you need to give yourself a rest. And it was all exciting with the coaching staff coming in and everything. But I mean, I've been seeing things on X and everything, mate. But I've literally have stepped back. The main, I mean, if you look at it all, I think we'd always said that we needed a cornerback, we needed a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. We could all see that Darnell Mooney was not going to be kept on. Kadero Hodge, I mean, to save a couple of $1 million was one that I didn't see coming. But again, like that, it's he really was a special teams player, and special teams was really bad last year. So effectively, if you look at all the positions we need, I think it's increasing every day, and that's where effectively Ian Cunningham's going to come in. I like Gainwell. I think Gainwell is if Tyler Algier does go, we bring Gainwell in. But again, I think if you've got Bill Callahan as the O-line coach, I don't think you need to pay big money for a running back too. I mean, bearing in mind we've got Nathan Carter still. I think he's still signed to the Falcons, which again, I think what we've seen in preseason last year, the speed was there, the talent was there, mate. But again, I think we need to get to a point where we've got depth, as in real good depth. I think last year the team was good at the top, but when you effectively can move down from that, we had the chats with when the team get put down to the last 53 players. We were looking at some of the players and we were like, well, you know what I mean? Have we got Jack Nelson as one of the backups? Yeah, there was a lot of depth issues, and that's where Ian Cunningham's really going to have to be wise in the free agency. He's obviously trying to build up that pot, the cap space. The benefit that we've got of not having a number one draft pick is that we don't need to use as much of the cap space on the number one draft pick. So that would have been like what, 10 or 11 million. For the as a cap hit. So again, we can use that on maybe 2 or 3 decent average good players. So
I feel like a lot. Sorry, as you say, a lot of it's going to come down to kind of how we use that money, kind of cost and effect. Giving up one guy to maybe get 2 that can really shore things up, because we're also struggling in terms of depth, as you say. So we're in an interesting position, but that's why I've tried to be kind of versatile in the positions that I've drafted. If you go back and watch the solo with the 2 draft classes, if you've not seen that, guys, over on the solo channel, I've tried to kind of spread it out a little bit and try and fulfill a lot of needs, which I feel like is something that Ian Cunningham's going to look to do as well. But a lot of good options. As Ricky said, now that it's a new coaching staff, I wouldn't be mad at giving Ray another punt, maybe even D. Alford, because he kind of has that overhang nickel role if you want to have that. As I say, options are options, but I would only bring Ray back as a 4, maybe a 5 at a push.
I think he's. I mean, listen. What he's come out and he spoke his mind, and it's been correct. But I do want to bring in a player that effectively does what he does. I mean, at the end of the day, he was right what he said, but there's an unwritten rule in football that effectively what goes on in the changing room does not get discussed outside, and he went against that way. And I know it was only wee posts about like sharing things and just having a funny laughter face or whatever, but he was effectively washing his dirty laundry in public, and a lot of head coaches are going to look down on that, mate. So,
apparently, Southside Ricky's trying to get some dirty laundry washed on himself. Do you remember someone else who wears number 34 and plays wide receiver?
Aye.
Don't start with me, boy. The man makes the jersey, no the other way about.
As I say, mate, it all comes down to good coaching. We watched a Seattle Seahawks team. I'm telling you that now, and I know we had the discussion about Michael Penix Jr. Could he take us to the Super Bowl? I guarantee you there was nobody who was saying at the start of the season that Seattle Seahawks were going to win the Super Bowl.
No.
You know what I mean? So it's up in the air. Nobody knows the future. Nobody. And again, it all comes down to the coaching staff. If you've got an average player and you've got good coaching staff, that average player becomes good. We've had this discussion before, mate. a great coaching staff will make a good player great, a great player exceptional, and exceptional player a world beater, mate. And let's hope we've got that in place. I would say that effectively the leak of the report cards didn't look good for Kevin Stefanski, mate.
No.
We'll probably discuss this in another show, mate, but he came out as a C-.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I would say is that I've been in a position where I've been in a job that I've hated and known that I wasn't going to be there for too much longer, and they've got the worst days. And I think at the end of it all, I think with the Deshaun Watson move, effectively the things that were getting took outside his control. He had a chat and a discussion at the start of last season about what control and he would have a say in the players that were getting drafted, and then the players that getting drafted were nothing to do with what he wanted. So I think last season, I think he'd lost his mojo, and that maybe shows in the report card. What I would say is that watching some of Kevin Stefanski's interviews, especially at the combine and everything, he literally comes across as quite a funny guy. And this ain't somebody that I've seen before. So sometimes getting that pressure away from you and starting afresh, it makes a man. So
it really does.
But
and that's how I feel like in a way I'm reticent to let Tyler walk, because I know he's going to get that money elsewhere. I know he's going to ball out elsewhere, and isn't it going to sting?
But I seen somebody who he made a good point on X. I can't remember who it was, but his words were maybe Tyler wants to get away from Bijan Robinson. Maybe Tyler wants to be that RB1. Maybe I don't think he's that kind of guy, but effectively he wants, if he's got that in his mind that he wants to show that he can be as good as Bijan Robinson, or he can have his own impact, then albeit, I mean, I love the guy. I mean, we drafted him 5th round. You know what I mean? A 5th round pick. What he's given us in these last few years is well better than a 5th round pick. So if he goes somewhere else and gets his money, so be it. I would love if he kind of sat down with Bijan and said, listen, we could, with this new offensive coordinator, O-line coordinator, with the new Tommy Rees's offensive coordinator, I think we can make something happen. But at some point, Tyler Algier's looking and saying, you know what, I want to go somewhere where I can have my own story and not be the backup to Bijan Robinson and watch all the plaudits that Bijan Robinson is getting. I don't think he's an egotistical guy, but we all come into everybody comes into this league to effectively make their way, and effectively, I think that's what's going to happen with Taylor Algier.
And with that being said, although 3 years, 22 million, the 22 million isn't what puts me off. It'd be the 3 years, because then you're talking about him being 28 and going out to push it when people, you know how people talk about that 30-31 threshold, especially at running back. So, yeah, like, more power to you, Tyler. Like, if this gets to you, more power to you if you want to go get that money. But from two diehard fans, we would be sorry to see you go. And while we're having it out, just before you go on, Des, like, we're not the best at self promo, so we'll let Maggie tell you. Hit like, share, subscribe, keep it coming. We love this talk, and we just want it to keep growing. So yeah, you know where the buttons are. Get them hit. Sorry, Des.
Right, I'm going to say something, and I'll see if I'm proven right or wrong. But I think that we need to bring in not just for Bijan Robinson. I think we need a RB2 and an RB3. I just get a feeling that I think the Bijan Robinson as receiver is going to take a step forward with this offensive coach and this scheme, mate. I just see that they're going to use him more than what's been used before, and I think at some point we need an RB2 and 3. You imagine, right, that you've got Bijan Robinson in the backfield, and then you've got say Tyler stays, then you've got Tyler Algier right next to him. At some point, if you're the defense, you're going to say to yourself, well, what are they doing here? Is this going to be a run play? Is it going to be Bijan getting the ball? Is it going to be Algier running the ball? Is it going to be Bijan run the ball, or is it going to be Drake London as a passing catch? You know what I mean? Effectively, if you've got Bijan Robinson and a other running back in the backfield, that literally completely confuses the defense. They don't know that. That's effectively telling them that could be 4 or 5 different options. And I think that's what Kevin Stefanski wants to do. He wants
that a lot, because I mean, with that being said, we have all the weapons to pull off 21 personnel, because that one tight end is Kyle Pitts, who is a freak athlete and really hard to cover. So I mean, you throw in a decent receiver into that mix on this other side of Drake, I'd be happy to run just 2 receiver sets and run 21, because Bijan's just as much a threat to catch the ball as he is to run it. So it really opens things up, as you say, Des. But I've got another one for Ricky saying we do need to shore up that defense and get a 330-pounder, which I know is something that
we definitely need a nose tackle, mate. We definitely need a nose tackle, but I think with what I was going to say there, mate.
That's my fault. Sorry, but
no, it's fine. It's fine. I'd lost my track. I thought there, mate. I literally something there. It doesn't matter. It was obviously daft.
Okay. No, if it should come, if it comes back, then it was warranted.
Oh no, but yeah, I know what I was going to say. At some point, what I would say is, and again, I've seen a few people talking about this on X. At some point, we need to get to a point where Drake London, and if we're keeping Kyle Pitts, Drake London and Kyle Pitts need to be effectively complementary. Then we need this to work between the two of them, mate. And again, it was one of the reporters that said that effectively they've never ever been in a position where maybe 1 or 2 games where they've just not. They've effectively been working against each other, and I don't mean that as in the players working against each other. You've had games where Drake London's went off and Kyle Pitts has been really, really quiet. And you've had last couple of games where Kyle Pitts has been phenomenal and Drake London's been a wee bit quieter. We need to get to a point where they can complement each other, mate. And if he is staying and Kyle Pitts is staying, that's going to be really, really important. And then we have to get to a point where Ian Cunningham starts drafting these hits, mate, because we're at a point where effectively we've wasted Drake London's rookie contract, we've wasted Kyle Pitts' rookie contract, we've wasted Bijan Robinson's rookie contract, we're wasting Michael Penix Jr.'s rookie contract. So at some point, that, as he says, that effectively RB2, RB3, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, that all has to come in at some point in the draft, mate. We need to build in the draft.
There's going to be a lot that we need to do, obviously, between free agency and draft. How much money we really splash in free agency is going to depend on, obviously, some of these cap moves that obviously we can go on another show and break down if everybody wants to see that.
What I would say, well, at some point, if there's ever a draft where we draft back, mate, and try and get as many picks as possible, this is a draft. And I wouldn't be upset if he was drafting back to get picks in next year's draft, because consensus is that this is quite an average draft. It's not, there's at the top, there's not a lot of big names, there's not a lot of effectively franchise potential, but effectively, if there's ever a draft where we draft back, mate, this is the draft, and I think he'll be open to it. I think he'll be the one thing about Ian Cunningham is that he's got a lot of contacts in Baltimore, Eagles, and Chicago. So if any of the teams are interested in a player, well, when we're coming to draft, then I'm pretty sure that Ian Cunningham will be like, right, that's fine, give us a fifth round, and take this second, give us your second, give us a fourth or a fifth round, and try and get some of that depth into the team, mate.
Yeah, for sure. As I say, like, I was able to get 5 to 7. I can see him trying to do the same, if not more. I feel like he's going to be aggressive and trying to make sure that we are in the right position. And although it's not a stacked class talent-wise, it's quite deep. There's value down the board in a lot of positions, receiver, corner, even the edge class this year's pretty deep. They say that it's disappointing because of the whole quarterback situation, because Arch Manning didn't come out. But it does give you one thing to look forward to in 2027. And as Pandemic says, to his credit, like, Emmanuel knows some stuff too. So go check out the show over on Pandemic and give him a subscribe too, because he's one of our loyal brothers. And he's obviously saying know when to stay in your lane and know when it's obviously time to show your own worth. And I feel like in a lot of ways that's where we're at as a franchise. It's time to kind of let the guys come in, get their guys in place, but we know what the backbone of this team needs to be. Essentially, what we've tried to do tonight is just obviously play a little bit of devil's advocate, yeah, sure, but at the same time try to give you logical fits that will kind of obviously be able to work with these coaches and finally get a team in place where, as I say, and as we've said in the past, is from the top down, from Arthur Blank down to Matt Ryan, down through Coach Stefanski, all the way down through the positional guys and down to the players. We need there to be accountability, yeah, stability as well, and obviously, I feel like once we've got that backbone in place, then sky's the limit.
It comes down to the coaching, mate. I mean, literally these players that are drafted are the top 1%, mate. If you look at college football, if you look at high school football, these guys getting drafted, even undrafted free agents, if they're literally getting a roster space at the start of the season, they're effectively the top 1% of players from college football. So that they're good at what they do. It's all about development and coaching. And when you hear Ian Cunningham say draft, develop, and retain, then that's exciting for me, mate. We need to be in a position where we are building in the draft. And I'll say it again, the issue we had in the last 6 years was we went from Dan Quinn to Raheem Morris to Arthur Smith, back to Raheem Morris, now to Kevin Stefanski. We need stability. And again, we then went from Dimitrov to Fontenot. We're now into Ian Cunningham. So we need effectively decent players, and we need great coaching. And what I would say is, if you look at all the appointments in the coaching staff, there's not really been one where I've thought, nah, don't like that. That's a bad. Well, we know one of them, the guy that was fired because of the accusations. So, but again, that's. I mean, these things are.
It's not something you even prepare for. Yeah. Like you expect some sort of drama, given that we can never get through an off season without one, but not quite to that extent. But I'm just glad that it's a new era. And I'm glad, and I agree with Ricky there. I feel like Drake and Kyle can coexist. I feel like, as we've said, with Njoku over in Cleveland, sorry, he knows how to use tight ends to an effect while still spreading the ball around a little bit. And that's where I feel like, to Emmanuel's credit as well, he said it, talking about a QB that's been developed in Stefanski's system, not necessarily developed there, but he just had Flacco there last year when he was in Cleveland. So that's another reason why, I've got a couple of guys here that, like, when you're talking about QB, I know there's been a lot of drama and a lot of teasing, but I mean, realistically, there's a lot of guys that just don't enter into the mix. So for me, it comes down to four guys. It's either going to be Kyler Murray, it's going to be Tua, it's going to be Mac Jones, possibly Geno Smith, or it's going to be Flacco. And out of those 4 or 5 guys, all the advantage, experience, if it's a bridge mentorship, if he's staying on a little longer, add into the fact that he knows what Stefanski's bringing to the table, how Reese runs an offense as well, because they were together over in Cleveland as well. So there's a lot of different factors that go into it. But yeah, if you're gonna go for that guy, then it's Big Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're, the other thing as well, when you're hearing about, like, I don't know where it comes from, Malik, what is it, Malik Willis?
Yep.
Malik Willis. They're talking about he's going to get 30 million a year. I mean, it's absolutely garbage. Mac Jones, they're talking that he's going to be in. I mean, you're going to have to give him a seriously decent contract as well. So you're at a point where you think, you know what, Joe Flacco is effectively a Kirk Cousins. He's not going to rock the boat. He knows that. What I would say is the difference between him, and I said this before, difference between Joe Flacco and Kirk Cousins is Joe Flacco knows he's a backup. Joe Flacco knows he's a bridge quarterback. He's under no delusional aspect that he's going to come in here and be the future of the organization. Kirk Cousins still believes he should be a starter. He believes that he can go somewhere else and start for the next 3 or 4 years. Joe Flacco isn't like that. Joe Flacco won't rock the boat. You can bring him in. He knows Stefanski's scheme, and it's going to be a wee bit more, as I say, a wee bit of stability.
I feel like that's a great point, because, as you say, like, I feel like bringing in Flacco would put us in a position of where we should have really been with Kirk by this point. But as you say, man still wants to prove his value, to quote Emmanuel again. So if he wants to do that, he can go do that elsewhere, because I feel like we have other plans at this point. And I feel like his play has been inconsistent enough to warrant the fact that, certainly for $180 million, his time as a Falcon was more than done.
I mean, what I would say is, if you're looking at Kyler Murray, I mean, if you were getting Kyler Murray in vet minimum, I mean, that's a great deal. That is a great deal. If you're unsure about Michael Penix, if I had to choose, and you think, you know, but again, you're at the point as well where he's coming off an injury as well. So it's like, are we back in the Kirk Cousins boat where we're signing a quarterback that's injury prone with a quarterback that's injury prone and Michael Penix? I mean, the one thing about Joe Flacco is he's not an injury prone quarterback. So who knows what's going to happen, mate? Who knows? I mean, literally, I mean, you don't know. What I would say is that I'm surprised that there's not been I mean, you've seen a few comments about historic or Cleveland Brown players potentially, but you've not seen a lot about Chicago Bear players, and it seems to be that the media's not really looking at the two teams and saying, well, there's that there and there's that there. So who knows, mate? I mean,
well, I don't know if anyone's going to be looking at the Bears next season either, because we're going to get into that obviously in the last section of the show.
What
Just obviously,
I'm going to throw a grenade in here now, mate. What I would say
go
is
ahead.
that if we get to training camp and there's a chance that Jesse Bates is traded, mate, I wouldn't be surprised. Effectively, Ian Cunningham said that he came out and said that effectively that when he went to Chicago, they had like 5 picks and they ended up with 10 or 11 before we got to the draft.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's going to be some tough choices to be made, and he's made it very obvious that he builds in the draft, mate. So Jesse Bates might go. There's not really much. Well, Kyle Pitts and Jesse Bates are going to be the two that you're going to get decent draft picks for, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, who knows? But at some point, you need to just understand that this year is a rebuild.
Yeah,
we have
for
to,
sure.
You know what I mean?
And as you say,
no
like, the Jesse Bates thing is an interesting thing to talk about because, I mean, I'll be honest, I've not done my due diligence in safety because, again, it's not a position I thought I would have to be in. But from what I've seen, there's a couple of cheaper options if we want to bring in safety depth. But I feel we're perfectly acceptable running with Watson Bowman because they've still got a veteran presence with AJ to kind of essentially captain the secondary. And if you want to be one of these teams that has a captain at every stage, then I mean that we could do that. And as you say, there's very few guys in the team that are going to bring back the level of compensation that a Jesse Bates will. So yeah, I'm prepared for that. Again, it's not a player I want to lose, but realistically, it's someone that we could lose and still be in a not bad position. So yeah, I feel like if there's one huge name, given that we're talking about draft, develop, retain, all the tight end stuff that we've discussed earlier on, I feel like Pitts is probably staying. And I feel like if there's one of the two that's moving on, I feel like it's going to be Jesse. But yeah, we don't know. It's all just going to be fun to see how it goes. I mean, yeah, I'm with you, Ricky. Ideally, we'd keep Jesse and Xavier together, but if you're talking about, it's where you really need to start pulling up the big boy pants, I guess, and making some tough decisions. It's a rebuild year, as you said, is.
I mean, effectively, you would be going from, but I mean, again, you look at it, you're going from Bates and Bowman to Bowman and Helms. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I think DeMarco Helms is in the games we seen him, he was decent. You know what I mean? Again,
sure.
injury prone, which is a big issue. But again, it comes up. It's all about development. You know what I mean? Effectively, Ian Cunningham saying draft, develop, retain. He'll be looking at these players and go, right, okay, we don't want him, we'll just move them on. But what he'll be saying to his coaching staff, once he decides if DeMarco Helms is staying or and Jesse Bates moves on, it'll be a case of we need to develop these guys. These guys are cheap. Let's develop them. Let's get depth in place and allow me then to build in the draft for next year, the year after. You know what I mean? Because effectively we have wasted all these rookie contracts.
And as
maybe,
you guys say, I like Helms too, but there's far too many primes being wasted. And with this year just gone, I just felt like it was injury. So my first port of call throughout the whole team is I just pray that we can stay healthy, especially down the stretch, because I would hate to get to a point where we've drafted well, we've had a good free agency period, we're looking good, we're looking fresh, we're looking deep, and then the injury bug starts again. So I just pray that everyone stays healthy. It's going to be one more thing to just add stability and continuity. It's one more thing to kind of tie in. I hope that the health, the health of the team stays stable as well. But yeah, I mean that's kind of all the stuff that we wanted to kind of break down and kind of play around with you on tonight when it came to the Falcons. But we also did want to say, when you're talking about trades and players that may be moving on going forward, there's a big three that I would say from the week that I did want to cover. So for me, the big three are obvious, and I'm sure you'll agree, Des. So that would be that Trent McDuffie cornerback of the Kansas City Chiefs is now going to be a Los Angeles Ram. That is in exchange for a first this coming year, and then a fifth, sixth, and a third next year as well. So I feel like that's fair. One first rounder and change. I feel like the Rams definitely won that trade. I'd give up one first round to get a corner of McDuffie's quality.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, Des?
Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah, I mean, the Rams, I think they've got, I mean, if you look in the next two drafts, I think they've got like 140,000 picks, you know what I mean?
Yeah. They've still got that first round this year because they took ours.
I know. He likes, Sean McVay likes collecting draft picks, mate. So when you look at that, yeah, I mean, I think if you could say that a draft was even, I think if he goes on and does what we think he can do with the Rams, mate, probably the early Rams have won that, mate. But I think the Kansas City Chiefs are looking at a 1, a 5, a 6, and a 1, a 5, and 2 6s, and saying,
a 1, a 5, a 6, and a future 3.
Well, there you go. I mean, they're looking at that and saying, yeah, we're happy with that. You know what I mean? So
yeah, but I mean, there's ways that this could end up a win-win, because if the Chiefs use that pick, if you're talking around about 25, 26, I think they're looking at Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end out of Oregon, to replace Kelsey. And if they can do that, that Kansas City offense is going to be interesting this year.
Yeah.
And speaking of an offense that's going to be interesting, you're talking about DJ Moore, who was someone who we had our eyes and ears on for a minute. He's now been traded, so he will be the number 1 receiver in Buffalo. And I'm just going to quickly drop that tag off so that I can see the compensation. So that's just for a 2026 fifth round pick. But they're swapping. So no, the Bears are receiving a second. So the Bills are giving up a fifth round. No, they gave up a second and the Bears are sending Moore in a fifth. So, again, insane value. You're giving up a 2 and you're getting one of the most dynamic receivers in the league.
I mean, the Bills, the Bills won that one, mate. Definitely, mate.
For sure. That's going to put them into that mix. I know we've been talking the last couple of seasons. There's a few QBs in that mix where we say they really need to kind of get over the hump and really learn to play some ball in January. But definitely Buffalo would be one. But the only name that I would say would be higher than Josh Allen on that list of QBs would be Lamar Jackson. Putting Derrick Henry in there was the. I thought that was that was going to push them over the edge, but I mean, sorry. With that being said, how can they not get it done after this move? The Baltimore Ravens for 2 first round picks, Max Crosby. It's got to be over with now, surely. If you're a betting man, Baltimore's not a bad place to put it.
Absolutely, and it deserves it because, effectively, you've seen the picture of the Bentley or the fancy car, and it's in this. It's like a house. It looks like a hut.
Yeah.
And that was Max Crosby, mate. You just felt for him. You've got him and Miles Garrett. You know, that's the 2 that are effectively they're not in the right team. You know, Miles Garrett is getting compensated well for that. And Max Crosby's. I think Max Crosby's at a point where he's made so much money. He just wants to be at a place where they can actually win.
I don't blame him again. Like Tyler Algier, as we were saying earlier, I don't blame the man for going and getting his money because, as you said, he really was like a gold filling in a mouthful of rotten teeth, so to speck. And shout out to the Celtic brother Floyd. Sorry, Des, on you go, mate.
And again, talk about DJ Moore. I think Josh Allen was getting to the point where he was throwing a Boaty McBoatface. You know what I mean? It was literally it was like who's going to be his wide receiver. So I'm sure he'll be happy. But again, at some point, the Bills need to start trying to develop in the draft, mate. They've not been good draft. A good draft team, you know what I mean? And again, I'm pretty sure Josh Allen will be delighted with DJ Moore going there. But yeah, but I mean but Max Crosby, I mean, I'm delighted for him, mate, because he now goes to a team that can compete now, and I think we'll see a whole different Max Crosby next season, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, one thing though, I do feel good for Max Crosby. I feel like the AFC North's going to be the division to watch, I would say, in football next season, and I feel so sorry for Joe Burrow, because 6 games in next season, you're either going to have to see Max Crosby twice, Myles Garrett twice, TJ Watt twice. It's like that poor boy. So I think since he's going offensive line in the draft, if they know what's good for them.
I know. It's just these things that we can all see it, mate. How can the team not see it? It's like, I mean, it's crazy, mate, that you're watching Joe Burrow's getting literally threw about every week, and they just can't give him protection. It's crazy, mate. It's crazy.
Well, I guess the one why we know why you can't give him protection. If you're going to give $118 million a year to 3 players, then you're kind of hampered in what more you can do after that. So to an extent, I feel sorry for Burrow, but I don't feel sorry for the Bengals as an organisation. They're a good team on paper, but they're also extremely poorly run.
I mean, I would say, mate. I mean, see if you're looking at any player that could turn into Andrew Luck, mate. It's Joe Burrows. I mean, there's only so much punishment that man can take before he just decides enough's enough. I'm just going to retire. He's made his money, mate. But
I'm going to go back and chill on the bayou and smoke some cigars. I'm done with this.
you're at a point where you're every week you watch the game and he's just getting brutalized, mate. He's getting brutalized, and there's only so much. It's the same with Tua as well. Tua.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, effectively, Tua is getting. He's going somewhere else because Miami couldn't protect him. You know what I mean? It's crazy. I mean,
I hate saying this about like a professional player who knows where he's at in his life, where he's at with his health, but I fear for Tua. I genuinely do fear for him, because if you put him in a team like, say he plays on, say, the Chargers last season with Joe Alt hurt and the other great tackle they've got, both their starting tackles are out. Justin Herbert got battered all season long. If that was Tua, that's the end of his career. And it does concern me, and that's why, like, I have respect for Tua. I feel like he played some really nice ball at Alabama, even towards even the first year and a half, 2 years even of his Dolphins run. But these concussions, they mount up quick, and I just pray that he can get out of the game when he can still remember what good he did in the game. That's my only hope for Tua. So I wouldn't want to be the roster that signs him if it gets pushed over the edge. You know what I mean?
Again, mate, why would you go from Kirk Cousins to Tua, mate? It makes no sense. He's literally one concussion away from being out the game, and I guarantee his agent will know that. And effectively, if he gets a good deal, most of the money will be up front. Most of the money will be effectively stuck in the first 2 years, mate, and literally the years after that will not be guaranteed.
Yeah.
If you're his agent, you're going to try and get him one last payday. But again, effectively, you're going to make sure that there's a lot of guaranteed money. And if you're a team looking at Tua, you're going to say, no, I'm not. There's going to be very little guaranteed money, because he could go into the first game, get a concussion and that's him. His career's over. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And take it from someone who had I don't know if this is a confirmed stat, but I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know if there's a QB all time who had more severe concussions than Brett Favre, and he was saying how easily it happened. The last concussion that got him put out completely against the Saints, it wasn't even a bad hit. It was like an arm push to the shoulder or something, and the trainers came out and they went, "Brett, you okay, big guy?" And he goes, "Nah, I was snoring." It's just that easily done, and a career's over.
And that's the issue with concussions, mate. As soon as you get one concussion, you're more liable to get more concussions. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And effectively, if you're the quarterback and you've got players that are looking at you and saying, "I'm going." I mean, none of these D-line or edge players are openly going to try and harm players. But effectively, if you're in a make or break situation and you're effectively going after a player, at no point are you thinking to yourself, "Oh, I'll need to back off here, or he could get a concussion." You know what I mean? It's a case of I'm putting him down, and I mean, as you said, I think his last concussion, it didn't look bad. It looked like not Brett Favre, Tua. You looked, you thought, God, is he getting took off for concussion? That just looked as if it just looked like a wee tap. So, stay away from Tua. Kyler Murray, if we can get him in a vet minimum, but I think he'd muddy the water a wee bit.
A little bit. I feel like he's not the best character to have in, and again, if it's any more than a vet minimum, I don't feel like I'm comfortable. He's got a good arm. For being the size that he is, he's got a bigger arm than he has any right to, but it's too sporadic. There's too much in between for me to really warrant really taking any serious consideration, at least monetarily, as it pertains to Kyler Murray.
I'm just having a look to see how much Joe Flacco made. I don't think he made. I mean, $4.25 million he made with the Browns in 2025.
Well, that's comparative chump change for what you'd be getting. As we say, he covers all the things we need: a bridge, a mentor, someone who knows the Stefanski scheme. What more do you really want? And cheap, so that we can put it better into other.
And he's respected by Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan respects him, knows he's a good quarterback. And again, that's the kind of guy that you would bring in to mentor Michael Penix Jr., you know what I mean? So, and you're getting him, if you're getting him for $4 million, I mean, that's a no. I've always said, mate, that effectively, if you, again, I said this in one of the previous shows, Matt Ryan, for a lot of his time in the Atlanta Falcons, had Matt Schwab as the QB behind him. Effectively, I mean, a player that with the Houston Texans was their main quarterback. So it was a really good. So at some point we need to get to a point where we've got Michael Penix Jr. as an injury-prone quarterback. We need to have somebody the caliber of Joe Flacco sitting behind him that's ready to walk in if need be. If we could get younger, then that would be great. A younger quarterback that effectively didn't muddy the water, then that would be better. But effectively, I think Mac Jones is at a point where he thinks he can start and he can come to a team and start playing. And again, they're all looking at Sam Darnold and thinking, well, if he can do it, I can do it. I think Tua still wants to be the number one QB. You know what I mean?
That's why at first I was thinking Russell Wilson, but again, choppy waters with that one. He is a bit younger than Flacco, and he's still got somewhat of an arm, but again, it's the culture change.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like Sean Hayton, mate, but I mean, if you're literally going to walk away from a player that literally leaves you with like 80 million dead cap, I mean, that's telling you all you need to know about what that player's bringing into the changing room, mate. You know what I mean? It's not for me. I mean, it makes sense. Joe Flacco, he's played under Stefanski. Matt Ryan respects him enough to actually phone him and speak to him before he appoints Kevin Stefanski. It's Kevin Stefanski to see what he thought of Kevin Stefanski.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So he's got that. And effectively, he wouldn't muddy the water. He'll come in, he'll support Michael Penix Jr. He knows he's a bridge quarterback, and you're getting him for probably $4 million. You know what I mean? It's a no-brainer, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm right there with you. Shout out to Mad Mike. Always throwing the horns up in the chat. It's good to see you as always, brother. And as I say, we were just shouting out some of the chats we've been having the last week or so. There's been plenty going on, as we say. So it's just been really good to get back on. First time in a few weeks, obviously. Check back in with the family. Let you all know what all the good stuff that's been happening around the A and around the league as well. But before we do shut things up for the night, we always like to kind of update you on what's been happening and always give you a little chance to have your final say or ask any last minute questions. But before we do, just obviously go through all the reminders as always. So now that we're starting a new season and now that we've had a lot of new names in the chat that we're seeing for the first time, again, we're thrilled to say that. And we would remind you all that here at the Scottish Falcon Show, we are serving also as flagship to the AFN International expansion, which we're hoping will include some more British brethren very, very soon. And I will spoil no more than that. But as we always say, we strive to be the voice of all the fans, stateside, Clydeside, and worldwide. So if you want to join us and earn your kilt, Emmanuel Fandemic down in the chat will be able to attest just how good it is, how sweet it is to be a frequent flyer. So yeah, if you want to be part of that for season 2 and onwards, then we'd love to have you. We'll leave you the socials at the end of the show, just so you know how to get hold of us. But yeah, with that being said, I will open it up to a little bit of a Q&A session now. So if anybody has anything last minute that they want to ask, or anybody that we've maybe not covered that you think we should be looking at, then by all means, do let us know.
Well, we haven't mentioned, Will, that our Dirty Birds are coming to our continent. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, of course. There was so much to cover. I didn't even get that. Oh yeah, we do. Yeah, so confirming that the Falcons do have a little excursion to Espana booked. They will be. They have been confirmed as the home team for Madrid. So yeah, as we say, I'd messaged you pretty soon afterwards and asked if we were going. I don't know if it's in the kind of the cards for me this year, but like nevertheless, it's great to see that we're expanding right through Europe, because obviously we've had the London games, we've had the Germany games, now we're expanding into Spain as well. So hopefully in the future that's going to make you and my job a whole lot easier of recruiting some Eurobirds to come in on this thing.
And I think probably I mean, I was planning to go to Atlanta this year, but now that the Atlanta Falcons are coming to Madrid, I'll probably go to Madrid. I think the benefit is the fact that I know obviously there'll be a lot of people coming from, because effectively if the American people in America don't understand, Spain is probably one of the main countries where the Brits go for their holidays. So the Brits, we've got rain and snow in summer here. So we like to see a wee bit of sun. So I go to Portugal, which is obviously right next to Spain, but a lot of the Brits go to Spain. So I think a lot of the British NFL fans will probably fly across, but it won't probably be as tough to get tickets for this game, I think, as it would be for the Germany game or the British games. So I'm hoping that I'll get some decent tickets, and yeah, I'll probably go out there. They're saying that potentially it's going to be November the 8th. Could be the game date. So again, that's it's my son's birthday the day before, so that's perfect for me and him going across. So yeah,
that would be amazing, man. And from what I hear, like, I've never been to Madrid. When I went to Spain, it was we were about 40 minutes outside of Barcelona. So we were down in Catalonia, the southeast coast, Costa Brava. But obviously, from what I've heard and what I've seen, Madrid's an absolutely beautiful city, and it's a great city to party in as well.
And again, it's the Bernabeu.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to see what the capacity is. It's quite a big capacity.
It's got to be what, 70, 68, 70?
83,000. So it's
Wow.
again, it's up there with. I mean, I went to Wembley. I think Wembley's 100. It was 90 odd thousand there. Tottenham Stadium, I think, is about 60 odd. So it's a bigger stadium as well. So again, you always worry that effectively you're not going to get a ticket. But again, the rumours are that it might be the Chicago Bears that we play. So
that would be quite a fun game. I'd be looking forward to that one. And with that being said, when it comes to obviously the game in Madrid, for those of you that don't follow the soccer, the Santiago Bernabeu, where the game's going to be played, that's the home of Real Madrid. So probably like if you're talking about like the best football teams in the world, they're probably still one of the top first six or so you'd mention.
And probably if there's one, I mean, there's a few stadiums, but if there's one of the Meccas, you would say is the Mecca. One of the Mecca stadiums, it's the Bernabeu, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
You've got Wembley, you've got the Bernabeu, Hampden, which is obviously get so many records, you know what I mean? That when it was actually a decent stadium, now it's a shadow of itself. But when you hear,
I feel like if we put some work in, though, we could have grounds like Dublin can host a game. Glasgow or Edinburgh should be able to as well. We have the infrastructure.
Well, we so effectively during the Super Bowl week, our First Minister came out and said, or not the First Minister, the Labour leader in Scotland. I don't follow. I actually probably follow politics more in America than I do in Scotland. He came out and said about Scotland getting an NFL game, and I would second that. I've already said that effectively it wouldn't just be an NFL game for Scotland, it would effectively be an NFL game for the north of England and probably Ireland as well, Northern Ireland probably, because effectively you jump on a ferry from Belfast and you're in Stranraer in an hour and a bit. So it's probably easier for the people in Northern Ireland to come to Scotland that would be for them to go to London. So effectively, it would be effectively a North of Britain game if we got a game in Glasgow, maybe either at Ibrox, Celtic Park, Murrayfield probably would be the best place because it holds like 72,000. So I would love to see an NFL game every year come to Scotland.
That would be wonderful, and you know what? That's something we're going to push for until we get it. So. Plus, it's an excuse because if the Falcons get Scotland, it means that you all get a chance to come over and visit your boys, and we can show you around.
Absolutely.
So I don't know quite how we'd fare as tour guides, but we'll do our best for sure.
Listen, it's easy. It's like there's a big castle that's 1,000 years old. There's another big castle that's 800 years old. And there, you've heard of William Wallace. Well, there's his statue, and there's his tower, the monument to Wallace.
So there you go. There's your advice firsthand from the man himself. If you ever come over for a game, start at Stirling, work your way down. We'll meet you at the stadium.
Yes.
So all that being said, like, just I've got a wee questions here. I'm trying to see if my twin brother wants to go to the Ravens game. He's a Ravens fan. Tell him we're sorry. No, in all honesty, he might be the one like apologising to us. That was some pickup with Crosby, so he'll be excited. I'm not looking forward to the next time we see the Ravens. I'll put it that way, Ricky. But yeah, like again, thank you all so much for putting up with the last 2 hours and the last 48 episodes.
Yeah.
Like as I say, the way the season's kicked our arse and not so many words, it's taking us some time to kind of sit down, breathe, and have that woosah moment. But now that that's all done and we've gotten back, it's the band-aid's off. So I would like to do a little kind of one more little reminder before we close things out. So as you know, and as we've teased in the last few shows, Des and I are going to be expanding into a lot more sports. As such, we have opened up the new channel as well for that. So obviously you've got the Scottish Falcons show, which is just predominantly towards obviously the Falcons and a little bit of the broader NFL. But if we're going to be talking in more detail about more of the league, college ball, baseball, basketball, wrestling, so on and so forth, you know the list by now. Then please give us a subscribe on the SF Sports at YouTube. So as I say, that's where you're going to find everything that's not pertaining to this show, all our little wicked ends and side hustles and all that good stuff as well. So, just before we wrap up, guys, I appreciate all the kind words as well.
Absolutely.
Just before we do wrap things up, Des, are you planning on expanding? How's the social media life treating you? Are you still just an X-man, or are you planning on?
The business now is just kicking my arse, mate. I'm literally, as I say, it's just been hectic, mate. So it literally, as we said earlier about everybody, if there was anybody that was struggling, you know what I mean? It's literally, it's work, home, bed, something to eat, bed, and repeat. So
Well, in that case, I'm glad to serve as a distraction, at least, if nothing else.
Mate, I will say that effectively, I couldn't do this without you, because you put the show together, you put the topics together, you produce it all. I literally just come on and ran for 2 hours, mate. So I really, really appreciate you, mate. And as I say, I'm always ever hopeful, and that this is going to be the season. The Atlanta Falcons always do it for us. So let's hope that this is the premiere of the Super Bowl win. Who knows, mate? As I say,
I hope so, man.
Nobody
get in there early, but then everybody will call us glory hunters. They'll be like, second season of the show, and that's when you win it. But no, we you know as well as I do, we've been here for almost 20 years at this point, so we've seen it all. We've been through it all. We've come through the other side. We're still scarred in places from all the. But nah, as I say, just thank you all so much for everything. Thank you, Des, for joining me. And as I say, like, I couldn't do this without you, because as much as you can shout out about the production and all the rest of it, the thanks really go out to yourself for coming on and really giving me the passion to well, I would want to talk about it anyway, but you really helped me put this floor together for everyone. And as I say, you've been a big hand behind pushing to grow this thing as well. So to you, to the rest of the frequent flyers, whether you're watching, whether you're listening or not, and when you catch up with us, obviously, shout out to you, and a shout out to everyone in the chat as well. We appreciate you joining us. But one thing we haven't forgotten from season one that we will be bringing back and continuing. We like our hashtags. So I'll pitch it out. To coin a baseball phrase, I'll pitch it out and you can knock it out the park, guys. So we would wish you good night, but before we do so, we would remind you as always that here at AFNI and the Scottish Falcon Show, we love our ATL. So good night, Dirty Birds, and until then, remember as always that pain is international. Des?
But so is passion.
Thank you so much, guys. Catch you very, very soon.
Peace.